We're going to be discussing Bel-Air. Bel-Air is the reboot of the classic show from the 90s, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Here you have a more dramatic...
It's like, come on, people. You know it was only a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's like everything's getting a reboot. Sing it with me now. Reboot it, redo it, reshoot it, reuse it, and reuse it, abuse it.
Please stop.
If you want it, come easy, Tash.
Dusk sounds so sad. Oh my god.
I beg you, please stop.
That was incredible. Wow.
So this, I think, if I'm not mistaken, so there was like a short online first of this whole dramatic take.
It was.
That caught
2018.
There was like this concept trailer online about like what if we did the Fresh Prince, but as a serious drama in the vein of something like Degrassi or like One Tree Hill or one of those types of shows. And that really got the attention of Will Smith's and his production company. I think it's Overbrook. They fit the bill for the show.
Yeah. So that's what kind of inspired the concept. That's, a little concept trailer. The guy was, like you said, Smith's attention, and then allowed them to have what the show we have today, Bel-Air. Here we have a new character playing the Will Smith character, Jabari Banks, who plays the 16-year-old character. I mean, the concept of the story here in this reboot, it's the same. You have a kid from Philly, situation happened, involving gang members. That situation, very dangerous, so it caused his aunt to send him to Bel-Air to live with his rich aunt and uncle. And you also do have the same kind of characters here. They're all the same character names of Vivian. You have Phil, Uncle Phil. You have Carlton. You have Ashley. You also have, like I said, Aunt Vivian. And they also have Jeffrey, who plays, who's the butler, of course, for the family. And you even have similar side characters as well, like Lisa, who I remember who was played by Nia Long in the Fresh Prince show, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh shit!
Yeah, that was also a character from the show. And they also do references to the original show. Like there's a scene where he turns his jacket inside out, which was something that he did in the show as well. That was also kind of a big thing there. So there's that. So with this show, it's like I said, more dramatic take on it. And you see kind of more, of things like of them living this fancy kind of Bel-Air lifestyle. You see what involves that Bel-Air lifestyle. You see Carlton, who, is, not doing cocaine, Xanax. He's crushing up Xanax and snorting it. Very different.
They've really changed Carlton's character.
Yeah, they pretty much I think they took a storyline from that involved Will back in the Fresh Prince days, and they just put it on Carlton, and they fucked that boy up.
Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff. So you kind of have, and then you have, kind of with these different characters. Hillary, in the original show, she was like an anchor. Eventually, it took her a while to kind of figure out what she wanted to do in the show.
Ashley, you mean?
No, Hillary.
Ashley's the youngest. Hillary is the
Hillary.
Oh, sorry,
Hillary
I say Ashley. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you said Hillary initially. In the old one, she was just kind of a ditzy, like, money doesn't really matter. I can get whatever I want in the old show. And this one, she is, like, the center of the house, basically.
She's, like, a chef, celebrity influencer chef, who's played by Coco Jones.
Which, Awooga!
Yeah, she is, absolutely stunning.
He's not unattractive.
Really, really gorgeous. Celebrity chef influence, so you kind of see, because she has more of a clear set kind of path of her life of trying to be this influencer celebrity chef. And you also have Ashley, who's the youngest. You don't really see much with Ashley
at all.
Ashley, who they do so little with Ashley, they might as well have not even had her on this reboot.
Well,
he's the character who has to be struggling for sexuality and then shoved to the side for no funny reason.
Yep, I forgot about that plot line. Yep, there you go.
Well, with Ashley,
gotta appeal to all demographics.
I'm trying to think because I wanted to kind of also watch the original show because it's been a while since I've seen it. But I think with Ashley, it took a while for them to do stuff with Ashley because she was the youngest. She was always the youngest one until the baby came along. Jaden came along. She was the youngest, and so kind of I think if I remember correctly, they didn't really do all that much with her either in the original show. I'm trying to think until she got a little bit older.
Early on, Ashley was was early on was pretty vibed with Will from the get-go.
Yeah, okay.
Like from the first episode where he plays where Jazz plays the drums, like they're hanging out, which is why it's even more confusing in this fucking show that she's in it so little. Which
which is because
that was a nice dynamic too. In that show was like, he's like feels she's the most welcoming immediately off the bat.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and so with her character, like you say in the show, in the original show, is a lot more welcoming. Here, it's kind of a stark contrast to like when he first comes to the house in the original show, he's kind of ignored a lot by Hillary, a lot by Carlton because they just have such a they haven't seen him in a decade almost and years and years. So, it's very cold, reception to him. Here, he's welcomed very nicely by Hillary. He's welcomed seen very nicely by, Ashley. Not so much by Carlton, but by, majority of the family.
Him and Carlton are beefing.
Yeah.
Throughout most of this.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like Carlton on the show is like a step away from joining the Legion of fucking Doom.
Yeah, he really is.
Dusk, what were kind of your impressions on this show here?
So, I really way back when I was actually I was a big fan of like series like Family Matters or Fresh Prince. I watched those a lot when I was younger on reruns. I watched them a lot. Really enjoyed them. Unironically, I always enjoyed Carlton's and Will's dynamic from that original show. I loved that early Carlton was pretty awesome, and then they made him more of a character in later seasons, unfortunately, because he had some badass moments. Early on, they took Jazz's sister on a date, and he just and she's just being rude the entire time. And then by the end, he's just like, "No, I'm gonna take you home. You're gonna apologize, or I'm gonna take you home. Do I make myself clear?" And you're like, "Yeah, yes, Carlton, go for it." But in this show is very let you know right off the bat, we ain't doing any of that. Fun, we don't even know is the meaning of the word. Yeah. We don't even know. It's like what's that? Fun? How's that spelled? F-U? No, get it out. Get out of my face. Get out of my face. I don't even know what it is. Give me something good.
F is for fire that burns the whole town.
F
is for uranium.
It really is. All right, F. We're gonna change that. G, gun. Okay, cool. Gun. What else we got? We'll take violent. Drugs. Cool. Oppression. Life is like lifestyle change. Influencers.
It's like
hot
art. Daddy.
Hot daddy uncle. Systemic. It's like systemic oppression. Black on black violence, dysfunctioning the police, like it's just keep things stacked. Reaching murder, potential hit. All right. Beef between best friends that culminate in a loss of social structure within the norm of and it just collapses under its own weight of its own what it's trying to do. This show is both simultaneously doing very little and doing too much.
Can I please?
Hunter, take it away.
Dusk, I have never agreed with you more than I've been on this show. God fucking damn it, dude. Hammer, meat, nail, motherfucker. Well fucking said. Because here's the thing that was driving me nuts the whole time, is that when you have a sitcom where it's funny, the dramatic element, the dramatic plot lines are actually able to sneak up on you because it's a comedy. And
it hits you harder.
Exactly. So it works better. But when you have a drama which has no levity at all, this show is not really funny at all for the most part.
It has no chill. It zero.
It really doesn't. And so the fact that it's just it starts to feel like pun intended, white noise after a while. And so you're just sitting there like, all right, all this is kind of just blending together after a while. They make Will, quote, smart in the show. He's like a straight A student. And I'm going to be real. It's so funny we're just having the whole Will Smith discussion. The reason why he gets sent out to Philly, that whole gangbanger shit, is the dumbest fucking thing in the fucking world. And like, because his friend Trey even goes, dude, this guy's a gangbanger who's going nowhere. You literally have no fucking reason to go to this basketball court and get in trouble. And Will says, and I quote, I'm from West Philly. I rep that wherever I go. If I don't have the respect of the streets, I have nothing. And I went,
you dumbass!
That's episode 1. That's the first 10 minutes.
First 10 fucking minutes.
But you also,
I think they're trying to have his cake and eat it too. True. Who isn't a fucking moron at 16?
But the thing is, though, like, by telling us how smart he is to start the show, you immediately undercut it by saying that. Like, it's a real.
I don't think him being a straight A student, and he's smart, but you're gonna sometimes you make mistakes, you make dumb decisions.
No, I get that.
It's also a public school in West Philly, so the bar is kind of not that high.
But his friend even makes a point to tell him, "Don't do this." And his logic.
They make that a point of his character that he's just constantly getting into crap because he lets his ego and his own emotions get the better of him. He has a huge anger problem.
That kind of aged well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to add to your point, Hunter. In addition, they wanted to have that, like, and also what Nick said, they want to have their cake and eat it too. But there's a simple solution early on. How about he and his friend Trey are playing basketball and he's trying for tryouts and he wants to get even better, and they're on a public court. It's a little late, and then they show up and they run into quote unquote these gangbangers, and they're like, and his friend shows up. He's like, "Hey man, why don't you play? Is they play? No, we're good. We're gonna go. I'm not giving you a choice. You owe me."
Yeah.
And now it's like and now you have a different nuance. It's
you do.
You have I can't really escape out of this, and he's kind of stuck where they are, and it's a proof of I don't want to get anything. And then Trey's like, dude, just be careful. Like, it's like, dude, you have a gun on you? It's for protection, man. We're just doing whatever. And then that changes the whole context. And it's I'm defending my friends. I was defending him.
Yes.
And then his mom's just like, I need to get you out of Philly. You deserve somewhere better, Will. You and your friend deserve better. I'm gonna get you out of Philly.
It's one of those things though, because Will has these moments of emotional intelligence where you go, wow, that's beyond your years. But then at like the finale where he just picks up and leaves, it's like, dude, like you are just like, you're all over the place. And the show is all over the place because there are these moments where I'm watching it. There's I assume we're doing spoilers, I'm assuming, right?
Okay.
It's just like a general discussion on the show.
The ninth episode, Jeffrey and Uncle Phil have this conversation, and Jeffrey calls Uncle Phil out on his bullshit, and I went, huh? And it's one of those scenes where you go, okay, like, you can do this correctly at points, but the show can't keep a fucking rhythm, and it's because it falls into this, like, really stereotypical dumb bullshit at points. Nick will tell you, I called that Hillary thirst trap shit. I've said give it less than 8 episodes and there will be some storyline about Hillary having to strip down or dealing with someone gross, like something like somewhat pornographic, and that is done in just the most really sort of way.
It is, and also
it's like we were talking about it. I don't think I was on that episode yet, and the next day I've got there.
And I was like, dude, what'd I tell you?
And also, why didn't she? Her parents are like tick for tat, very clear on reading everything. How was that not? She did not read that in her contract. How is she not aware of all that? And in addition, why would you why would any legally that's why it's like I don't understand how you don't have legal power over your aunt. She could sue the crap out of him for releasing something that she made, regardless of where she made it. He released something that she compiled it, and she can prove it because she is the original cut and the timestamp at the time, and she can say, "No, you sent something out. I didn't give you permission. That's a violation of our contract." Any basic contract covers that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but drama.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's my biggest problem with this show. Additionally, for everything else, of all these things that stacks on top of it, it wants to be this heavy, like really good drama for your mama situation, and it wants to be really deep, and I mean it. It wants to be super. Every episode, things need to happen, but it doesn't feel organic. None of it feels like it each leads to another. It just feels like, oh god, we've already seen this before. Oh, Carlton's gonna get mad again. Oh, there's the drug problem, and you're like, when are you just gonna tell his parents? Just tell somebody. Get this resolved. I don't need 5 episodes of you telling me something, and they're hour long.
True. It is true. It is all of those things. It is all of that, like really exaggerated characters making stupid decisions for the sake of drama. However, I've also watched shows like fucking 13 Reasons Why, where that was basically the entire basis of the show, and I think it's not great, but it's done competently here. It's like, even if the storyline is dumb, I do admire the performances from the actor. I think Jabari Banks has a lot of presence as Will. Otto Schlatter, who plays Carlton in this, I think he's great, especially when you get towards the back half of the season, when that motherfucker chills the fuck out.
Yeah, the back half, thank God that exists, because the first 6 episodes, I was like, oh my fucking God, I'm going to jump off my fucking balcony.
I think I was like on board after like episode where when Carlton and Will finally get some common ground and actually like chill that F out.
But Nick, you have to admit, man, so let's go back to episode 1. Carlton damn near kills Will because in episode 6 starts, he goes like, dude, I'm so sorry, and Will just brushes that shit under the carpet.
I was thinking that it's episode 7 actually. It's episode 7 because it's right after like all this. He's like, dude, just like how it was like for me, and he's like, dude, I'm sorry I made you go through all that stuff. And he's like, nah, man, it's cool. I almost drowned. I almost drowned.
He's like, you tried to kill me, motherfucker.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, Will shows both, like, you're right, Hunter. He shows, like, this level of emotional intelligence of a 40-year-old and someone who's seen life.
Occasionally he does.
Yeah.
But he is also kind of a fucking idiot.
Yeah, and he also just, like, for the same thing, he gets mad at his best friend, Trey. Like, Trey's been his blood brother. His blood brother since his father left him when he was like 4. They've been through everything together. And it takes one, I'm just going to stay here. He even offered to take him in. Hey, come stay with me. I'm bringing you with me. What? So I can get you leftover? Look at where we are.
And it's like, it was such a bullshit storyline. It's like, man, why don't you want to come back? And I mean,
and then he
looked around.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's just like, and I say, you were the one who got picked up and got this, but I got shot. So you want to go back to the place where you're gonna get shot again, possibly?
Motherfucker, you want me to go back there too?
It's plot lines like that where you just go, guys, like, come the fuck on, because they're at this I'm blanking on the rapper, but they're at this like
DJ Smoke.
Thank you. D-Smoke. He was on that rapper. He's excellent. He was on that Netflix show Rhythm and Blues.
Yeah, he's actually really good.
Competition. He won that whole show. He's great.
But they're at his show in box seats, and Trey just decides to go, you sell out, motherfucker. And I'm like, what? Like,
yeah.
What?
It doesn't make any sense. And by the way, Aunt Viv's reaction to that is just, oh, baby, you had a different moment. The moment it happened, Aunt Viv should have been like, West Philly time. Trey, I'm gonna slap some sense into you. Like, you're gonna stay with us.
credit to the actress who plays Aunt Viv.
Oh my
'cause
gosh,
that's
she's so great in the show.
Cassandra Freeman,
I tolerate this show because of Aunt Viv.
Who was the host in the Juneteenth episode of Atlanta.
Yes, and she's amazing. So here's what's frustrating. You'll get like the dynamic between Coco Jones's Hillary and Cassandra Freeman's Vivian is actually the relationship I'm the most intrigued in, because it's a young woman of color trying to find her own way and having to deal with, her mom's bullshit, and them trying to actually go ahead and find a common ground to relate to each other. And you go like, oh, a lot of these scenes are actually really good.
And I wanted a whole show just on that dynamic.
Yeah, and
that's
that
like,
dynamic's so good.
We're getting something. Both are really good actresses. Both are beautiful. Like, oh my God, there's so many times where Aunt Viv comes out and you're like, wow.
It's like,
you are gorgeous for your age. You are just absolutely wonderful. And she's super supportive. All these characters are great. I like Jeffrey, the new Jeffrey.
Jeffrey's
He's cool.
Hot. They made everybody hot.
Basically, yeah.
He did. Yeah. But he's the one person who really calls Uncle Phil consistently out on his bullshit. But and kind of making Jeffrey
it's like motherfucker, he's not the house manager, he's the fixer.
He basically is.
Yeah, he legit is. And like that, the dynamic between him and Phil, when Phil fires him, it's the best scene in the show.
Absolutely, it's a
heart-wrenching scene. And it's a BS, but it's also a BS reason too.
Yeah,
and Will screws him over by accident. Like he's like, well, I don't want to look, even though I went out of my way to get this. He's like, you're going to show this off, and he finds out anyways, so it doesn't even matter.
And that's kind of one of my issues, is that there are these interesting plot points they could develop, but the journey to actually get there is so rushed. Like Uncle Phil's giving Will like Black Dad like deep talks like episode 2, and it's like, you guys haven't earned this moment yet, and you're and you're rushing ahead.
And that was a thing on the original show. Whenever Uncle Phil did pull the Black Dad, I'm gonna drop some knowledge on you, it was earned. It felt
every time.
It was after a long while of them two butting heads.
Yeah. And the one thing I will give the show, the soundtrack's excellent. Like the soundtrack is legit, like great across the board.
I was legitimately surprised at all the different tracks I saw.
All bangers all the time.
Yeah,
I even recognized there was like even in the first episode, like when he meets Jazz. Jazz is great in this too. He's a side character, really cool. He's one of my favorite characters.
I think he's a much better character here than he was in the show. Mostly because
he was always a cameo of his buddy.
Because Jazzy Jazz, he's not an actor.
No.
Yeah.
But he's in the cab, and you're like, wait, that's Thundercat. Like on that radio, you're like, dun 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 dun. I'm like, that's Thundercat. That's from his album. I bought that when it first came out, and you're like. And then you just keep noticing all these different 90s, early 2000s, recent stuff, and you're like, wow, they picked their soundtrack carefully. I wish they had made their stories just this like well-crafted.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because the people who are praising this and saying you can't compare it to the original,
I will.
I hate people like you.
Just for the record, because the show compares itself to the original.
Because you can't have it both ways. You can't constantly drop Easter eggs from the original. They have Judge Robertson already as a thing. And that was like season 3. They're just like, oh, we need to get this DA thing out of the way. All right, so now he can run against him for judge. And it's one of those things where it's really frustrating because it feels like they're rushing. They already have Will's dad on the show, played by one of my least favorite actors in the whole fucking world.
He does a decent job. He does a decent job.
Marlon Wayans, when he is not writing the material, can be really good.
So you think it compares itself to the show just because it has Easter eggs?
A lot. It does, unfortunately.
It does.
I don't know. I don't think it compares. I think it's trying to really be its own thing. I think it does feel rushed. I think maybe they didn't think they were maybe going to get maybe a second season. Maybe, I don't know if they had faith they were going to get one.
They had already confirmed that there was 2 seasons before this one premiered.
Hunter, can I ask you a question?
Please.
What was the point of Phil's run for mayor?
Nothing. There's really
Just
no
looking,
point.
if you look at it from an entire season, and you're looking at it constructively, by the end, what's the point?
Wasn't he trying to run for DA, not mayor? Right?
DA, whatever. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
By the end, spoilers. Some things happen, and he gets blackmailed out of it. By the way, in a really crappy way, because the person blackmailing him is a really shitty person. Like, just a not very good person who abuses his power too. So you're like, cool, so now we're both going to abuse our power in different positions. What message does that say? Like, we're supposed... like, this show is also a mix on, like unity between everybody, and then it's like, but, like, also, screw you because you're getting in my way.
Well, I think
it's kind of like what
it was just, I think they kind of used it as a moment to show his bond with Will, like how close he's gotten.
It is kind of used for that moment. And by the time that happens, that's one of the few like Phil and Will bonding that I thought actually worked.
It's just you don't get a lot of that, and that's like Uncle Phil. Like that's part of the problem. Like even when Uncle Phil was distant in the original show, like there'd usually be at least one scene where you get to kind of like interact with the family and felt meaningful. And there are just so many moments where that is so absent from this show, which makes it really hard to invest in anyone outside of Hillary. Yeah. And look, there are some good moments here. There's one episode where Will's mom comes and visits, and her and Aunt Viv have it out during his birthday party, and that's actually a scene where you go, "Oh, generational trauma. Nice to see you." And it's one of those rare scenes where I go, "Oh, okay. Again, this works." But then again, like there's this. It has a scene where Carlton like kind of talks to Aunt Viv and sets her straight. And again, it's a moment where you just go like, Carlton pulling this out of his ass just feels like he's pulling it out of his ass. And
it's a moment that I thought would have worked better if it was any other character at that point where Carlton was.
I agree, and it's frustrating because again, the guy who plays Carlton, he
is legitimately great on this show.
He is, and it's weird because his turn, like the first episode, is all these guys in his lacrosse team rapping the song and dropping the N-word like it's nothing, and Will freaks out, rightfully so, and Carlton's like, hey, calm down, and then Carlton just kind of randomly decides to stick up to the racist school bully, basically, because the show calls for it. Like,
I will, you know what? I'll give this. I will give it this. I'll give it one time. This is the only time I'll give it for that very specific situation. Will and him have talked about it where he's the king of the school, and he's become a king of the school because he doesn't feel like the king at home. It's this, Phil takes up so much of being like the king of in his own kingdom. He doesn't feel like the rightful heir, like the son. So instead of that, I'm going to make my kingdom the school. And so by doing so, he lets a lot of things slide. He lets a lot of people say things that normally he would be upset at, but he pushes it down. He pushes it down, and he lets it like, dude, why are you being so harsh? Whatever. And then by the time episode 7, he just goes, F it. I'm just going to check this guy, break his wrist and arm, and be like, nah, but he had it coming, you know?
To be fair, that guy was a piece of shit.
True. No, I'm not justifying. I'm not saying it. But I'm also saying we had an hour discussion on violence, and the violence regardless of the circumstances. So I'm not going to go back on that. It's a violent act.
Oh no,
deserving or not.
But the thing is, too, that moment comes from nowhere. Like,
it does. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that when it happens, it's like.
I think it was built up after the episodes that you saw of Carlton. I mean, even though him turning on the guy again, that was the second to last episode that they did that. That was built up.
Oh, it's like episode 7, right? Some of that.
That's
7, and it was built up through obviously what he did to Will, what he had been saying.
That was like around episode 4 or 5. There's a lot of scenes in this series that feel like they should have happened very closer in other episodes. and they should have swapped storylines to make them more neat. A lot of this could have been fixed in linear scripting and in linear script writing, and they could have taken these plot points and made it flow better. But I don't know. I'm going to go to ratings. I'm kind of tired of talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, the one last thing I do want to throw out is that I think, and I can't remember who's writing the show, but I really think you can get some writers that could write the ship, because to the credit of the show, the whole Aunt Viv getting her art thing, which by the way, her art but her dynamic actually sets up an interesting story. Uncle Phil against Judge Robertson, that could be interesting. So it's not like the show isn't set up potentially to actually be a better season 2. But the thing is, they have to find a way to flesh out these stories so that the conclusion to the arcs feel organic. Because right now it feels like they're just throwing shit at a dartboard. So hopefully they can get it together. But
let's also not point out. I just want to point out additionally to you and Nick. How much money did he sink into that campaign run to then give up for Will?
That's
how much did his entire livelihood did he sink into that just to then go no and accept that? And the relationship where Will and him are at that time, and what Will does to him later.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, don't lie to someone and then immediately sleep with them. That's a horrendous fucking look.
Oh God,
terrible, terrible decision.
The way he emotionally manipulates Lisa in that moment and then sleeps with her. I was like, God, I was like, that's exactly what she told you an episode before that Carlton does to her, and you're gonna sleep with her after that, like, you ignorant, like. And there's moments like that where it's like.
Again, I think a lot of the dumb decisions the dumb decisions that Will makes on the show, I think fair bit of it can be chalked up to him being a dumb teenager.
True, but even when Lisa calls him on it, the show just kind of moves past it really quick. It's because she even says like, "You lied to me and then you slept with me," and he's like, "But I love you," and I'm like, no,
that doesn't change anything.
Like, not how this works.
Manipulation.
Uncle Phil also was telling him to lie too. I mean, he was telling him, he was manipulating him too.
Oh yeah, and he's terrible for that shit too.
And he's kind of saying
Lisa's dad was lying to her too. They're all a bunch of liars. The only one who's actually trying is like Aunt Viv. She's like the one who, her and Hillary and poor Ashley, who's off in the sidelines, and Carlton in the end. They're the ones trying.
And Jeffrey as well.
And Jeffrey. You're right. Jeffrey as well. Poor badass. Oh, I'm sure he'll cry himself a river as he kicks back and finds another job real quick.
Fucking English Jamaican James Bond.
Basically,
Which by the way, the Banks family, as rich as they are, as connected as they are, the car that Will steals, they can't track because it's just wouldn't you think you would it's just leaps in logic like that? Because even Viv brings that up, like, we can't track our own car.
It's true. Hunter, very specifically, once you pass a certain level of amount of money per car, it actually just has a tracking within it in itself. Newer models just have tracking within it because just in case they're Grand Theft Autos.
I didn't know that.
They gifted Will a pair of off-white Jordan 5s. You think those don't have a fucking GPS tracker?
Oh my god, yeah.
It's a frustrating show because there are these moments where I like kind of perked up. I was like, oh, okay. But then it would immediately do something that I would just go, oh, that's right. This is why I'm feeling like this. But hopefully season 2 can improve on it. But
hopefully.
So getting to my rating, I think I'm at a stream it with this show. And like both you, Hunter, both you, Dusk, and you, Josh, I think there are moments where the show is actually pulling it together. I think every actor on the show, especially Coco Jones and the guy who plays Carlton, I can't remember his name, and Jabari Banks, I think they're all great in their roles. They do a lot to elevate the material, even if it is occasionally really, really dumb. However, it's not as dumb as a lot of the crappy teen dramas that I'm more used to, especially in this day and age of streaming. You can see a lot of the plot points coming to a mile away, but a lot of them still worked for me. I think this show, it does have a very rough first season, but I think they'll take lessons from this and improve on it too. I'm at a stream it. It's like an interesting watch. I will say for the 10 episodes, I wasn't bored.
Dusk.
I'm kind of. Oh my god, this is so hard. Oh boy. A part of me. So. Oh my god.
Work it out.
No, my brain is literally frying. Like, just trying to come up with words. No. Sure. The actors, for the most part, are the magic for this show. They are doing the heavy lifting. Everyone is doing their best trying to support a script that just won't let them do what they need to do, and a story that just won't let them propel it to anything above slightly mediocre, slightly above average. I think the cinematography at points is gorgeous. Clearly, a lot of money is in the camera work. You can tell there's money on it. Just the location alone, like as oh my god, as Double Toasted put it, Martin put it especially. In the original show, the banks were well-to-do. They were rich. This show, they're rich. Like, dear God, the amount of money they must have. But at the end of the day, what holds it back is that script and is that writing. And I think if they can prove those, make the storyline fit a bit better, they could have the solid show. But I think it requires a bit. Just don't you take yourself as seriously. Just pull back on that. Give us time to breathe. You need episodes that allow characters to breathe and bond and allow this to flow better. Because every single episode feels like, oh God, what's another thing Will's going to go into? Oh God, Carlton's going through another depression. Oh God, Ashley committed suicide. What are we going to do? Oh no, what is the family going to bond together at this? Oh no, she's barely getting held together. She's in a coma. Oh no, now we're going to fight against each other. How dare you? It's like no, none of that. Just tell a story and tell characters and have a little fun on occasion. Have a little fun and enjoy yourself. This movie, this series is like a low stream it. Like, you can stream it if you want. You might have a pretty good time, but honestly, and I'm being super generous. I almost wanted to say skip it, but it just enough merits to see the characters and the actors that I think it's justified if you want to check it out for free or check it out on Peacock and you have Peacock. Yeah, give it a watch if you really want to. I will say, I thought about it, Hunter. You know, if Will and Trey had stayed behind in Philly, they both could have been it could have been a bigger budgeted version of the lottery ticket, except with less comedy.
Actually, weirdly, yeah. Oh God, they could have done that shit.
They could have been like, man, we got the lottery ticket, but it's like more serious and grandiose. Just between me and Trey, we gotta get out of West Philly.
Damn.
That movie's fucking great. I love that movie.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
It was really weird when that gang member Rashad just grabs Will's balls and just, you know what I do? I squeeze.
Exactly. That would have made me more terrified of Rashad. I would have been more terrified of Rashad if he just did that. Like, I'll squeeze him.
Yeah.
Anyone who hasn't seen the show, what expectations would you guys set up for them? Like, if they enjoyed the old show, but they're looking to start this one, like, how would you temper their expectations? What would you?
So many people of the old show, they want to.
Think
compare it too much.
I'd say it's kind of like a more family-friendly version of something like.
Yeah,
I think it's on the level of a Netflix teen drama, but it's actually with the good acting and good production now.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people, they want to compare it to the old show, and they don't like that. Like it's more serious topics. They don't really like Carlton, who does drugs, and they don't like that Ashley is exploring her sexuality. So there's a lot of forcing. A lot of people who don't like that. They think it's forcing kids to be gay. I saw that.
There are certain points in this series where stuff is forced. There are parts that aren't as forced and are better handled. I think if you're going to go into the show and you're a fan of the other series, the best thing you can actually do is just go, this isn't my show.
Yeah.
This literally is. It's called Bel-Air for a reason. Take out the fresh, because it ain't fresh. It's just Bel-Air. It's just this completely new style. We're going for something different. These are the names of characters, but they are not like the characters that you were before. And Phil won't, unfortunately, drop some wisdom on you that make you feel good or make you think about things. Instead, he'll just tell you, well, just then going like, okay, now you can leave my office. I got business to do. All right, are we done?
Yeah. Hold on, just because I didn't get my rating real quick.
Please.
So with the cast, I think the cast does a great job. I think I see a lot of good storylines here that could be developed into season 2. I just think, some of the stuff here was rushed. Javon Goods actually commits suicide. No, she doesn't commit suicide in the show.
No. Dusk was just riffing.
Yeah, she doesn't. So there's good things like that. So, I mean, there's good storylines of where things can lead to. I like some of the different things they did, like with the Jazz character. I like the change they made to him and everything like that. And they give a lot more characters to do at first, I think, than they did. Because Fresh Prince show was solely focused on Will Smith because it was his show. So it was like he was the star, so it was really focused around him. This, I think, does a lot more stuff with Vivian, like with her art and exploring her more as a character. Stuff they kind of dropped after the original actress who played Aunt Vivian went out. They, stuff with Uncle Phil, they give him a lot of stuff to do. I think they give more stuff with Hillary and as Ashley and Carlton. So I do like that. I do appreciate that. And, coming to the show, like, if you're that obsessed with the original show and you're that hold on to it, then you're probably not going to like this as much because you're too maybe held on to the original show. But if you just see it as like, okay, maybe this is just completely kind of maybe something new for you, or to come into a different space with these same kind of characters, then it might be decent enough. So yeah, stream it for me. Okay, so that was Bel-Air.
Dude, Hunter didn't give his review.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I thought she did. Oh, my bad. I thought she did.
No. Okay. Like, this is to this point, my brain is just kind of like, fuck. What do I want to give this? Because on one hand, Coco Jones is really great. I mean, great to look at, yes, but like she's great. Ollie Charlton, who plays Carlton, he's great.
Yeah,
that's his name. Oh,
yeah. Jabari Banks at points, I'm like, oh man, you're good. At points, it feels like he's being Shatner. Like they're just like it's so back and forth at points. It's like, okay.
True, but when the show calls on him to have those heavy dramatic motives, I think he nails it.
Some of them, yes. I will say in the finale when he goes off on his dad, that was actually his most convincing dramatic moment for me. I was like, oh, okay, this is a gear that you have. But at the same time, though, this shit is just kind of joyless at the end of the day. And it needed more humor. It's taking itself way too seriously. And it really does hinder the show at points.
And not like humor, it's like, it just needs joy.
Yeah.
Just relaxation, joy.
Or just some sense of levity.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, yeah. And it's just frustrating because, again, do I think a season 2 could be improved? Yes, absolutely I do. But at the same time, there's no reason for this show to fucking exist. And I just don't think enough people are talking about that. Like, this was never going to improve on the original. This was never going to hit the heights of the original. And at some point, y'all, like, I know Hollywood is a bunch of fucking whores who just want to go and take IPs and squeeze them like a fucking turnip and get every last dollar they can. I've accepted that. I mean,
Animaniacs did a whole musical. about it.
True. I mean, fuck, we're getting a third Fantastic Beast in a couple weeks. I mean, like, if you need more proof, like, there's proof right there. But at some point,
movie wise, April's kind of a rough month, guys.
Yeah, but at some point, y'all, like, can we just acknowledge that some things don't need to be remade? Like, is that okay? Like, we don't need to try to remake every fucking thing. I am doing this strictly because of some of the actors and actresses that I like in the show. This is the lowest stream it I'll probably ever give. Like, it is so close to being a high skip it. Like, it's so goddamn close. But I'm gonna be nice because I did see Morbius, and Morbius and Morbius is. I'll be real. If I had seen Morbius last night, this would probably be a skip it. But because that's fresh enough in my brain, I'm gonna give this the lowest stream it humanly possible. But don't watch any of the old show before you watch this.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to, like, seriously, don't. It will do you no favors.
The Fresh Prince is a great palate cleanser to watching the new Bel-Air. If you're like, man, I'm really sad after watching Bel-Air. Let me watch the old show.
Second it was over, better believe I was queuing up that theme song. It's like, this is a story all about how my heart got.
Yeah.
You remember when he fell into the pool and like he was like dying, and then
it was like the fucking sunken place.
Yeah.
And they only did that a couple times. They weren't consistent with that. Where like he'd have a dream and he's sitting on this throne and like,
it's like he's sitting on the throne with that J. Cole song playing.
It is. It's like, am I watching a Marvel show and I don't know it yet?
Did they fucking give Will Smith superpowers like they did on Riverdale?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a weird show because it feels like last thing I'll say, I hope the show can find an identity, its own identity in season 2, because if season 2 is more of this shit, I won't be so nice next time. Like, they gotta get a fucking rhythm. So,
like, the idea of him being king is a cool premise, and they could have just gone with that, where he's a legitimate fresh prince coming in there. I'm gonna take over. I'm gonna become this. I mean, he's reading like the Alchemist book. Great choice, by the way, if for a young man to read. It's actually a solid choice. And that was like one of the few times where I'm like, all right, serious respect. I'll give you respect. That's a good choice, Phil. That's a not bad book to give him.
Yeah, but
I can't give it anything. I'm with you, Hunter.
If you drink every time he references Philly, you'll be dead.
Oh, Jesus!
Because you thought the old Will Smith referenced Philly.
Take a drink every time he references Philly. Every time he says like a cheesesteak. Every time he says like John.
Like John. That was
you'll
another thing.
You won't make it past the first episode.
There is no subtlety in that shit. Like he's talking about Philly in the it's a little much to be honest. But
hey, I like a cheesesteak as much as the next guy, but come on, man.
I have a question, Hunter. What was the thing that Trey gave Aunt Viv? They were like cookies, but he called them something different. What were they?
It was like this fudge that I guess is like this big staple in Philly.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I was trying to figure it out, but I couldn't tell.
Yeah. But I mean, hopefully season 2 can improve. But,
I hope so, man. I hope so. It has potential.